Breaking news: Iraq delays U.S. troop withdrawal amid regional tensions. Recent developments have caused Iraq to delay the announcement of an end date for the deployment of the military coalition led by the United States in the nation. This has raised worries about the future of the United States military presence in the Gulf state, which comes at a time when tensions in the region are at an all-time high. The Higher Military Commission of Iraq had intended to suggest a timetable for the conclusion of Operation Inherent Resolve, which is the conflict between the United States military and the terrorist organization ISIS. According to a statement released by Iraq's Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Thursday, "We were very close to announcing this agreement. However, due to recent developments, the announcement of the end of the international coalition's military mission in Iraq was postponed." The statement did not provide any additional information regarding the recent developments. Israel and the United States are bracing themselves for a possible strike on Israel by Iran in retaliation for the murder of Hamas senior leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran a month ago. This is causing tensions to rise in the region with Israel and the United States. Although Israel has neither admitted nor disputed responsibility for the assassination, Iran has placed the blame on Israel. Militias in Iraq that are supported by Iran are exerting pressure on the government that is governed by Shia to eliminate the presence of U.S. troops in Iraq. Due to the fact that they consider the United States government to be one of Israel's primary partners, a number of powerful militias in Iraq have increased their attacks on U.S. locations in the country since October 7th. They have stated that they are doing this in support of the people in the Gaza Strip. The United States of America has responded by launching retaliatory airstrikes inside Iraq, specifically targeting the groups. Around 2,500 United States troops are now stationed in Iraq. Since December 2021, when the United States military announced that it would no longer be participating in combat operations in the country, these forces have been operating there in a capacity known as advising and assisting. The United States has proposed a fresh ceasefire plan for Gaza, and they are looking for an agreement by the next week. On Friday, the United States and its allies announced that they had presented a bridging proposal to Hamas and Israel for a ceasefire and hostage deal. This could potentially bring an agreement that officials hope can put an end to 10 months of fighting in the shattered Gaza Strip within reach by the end of the following week. In a joint statement issued after 2 days of talks in Doha, the capital of Qatar, the United States of America, Qatar, and Egypt expressed their hope that after months of unpredictable negotiations, they would finally be able to reach an agreement to put an end to a conflict that has resulted in the deaths of tens of thousands of people and has thrown the Middle East into a renewed cycle of violence and instability. The Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, told reporters in the Oval Office, "We are much, much closer than we were 3 days ago." He went on to say, "I don't want to jinx anything," but he concluded by saying, "We're close." Hamas accused Israel of trying to prolong the war, and mediators did not go so far as to affirm that ongoing points of disagreement had been resolved. However, the fate of the most recent effort made by the Biden administration to end the war remained uncertain. Officials hope that this will prevent an attack on Israel by Iran in response to a series of assassinations on militant leaders. The details of the exchange of Palestinian inmates in Israel for hostages in Gaza were the primary focus of the conversations that took place in Doha over the past 2 days. According to officials from the United States, these discussions were more fruitful than the discussions that took place months ago. In the coming days, lower-level officials will attempt to negotiate these particulars and other issues, and they will also work to establish an implementation cell to oversee the execution of a potential agreement. This cell will be responsible for overseeing the execution of provisions that will alleviate the dire humanitarian conditions in Gaza and monitor compliance with certain aspects of the deal. With the intention of concluding the settlement in accordance with the parameters that were presented today, senior officials will meet again in Cairo by the end of the next week, according to the statement released by the mediators. Also on Friday, Vice President Biden met with the heads of state of Qatar and Egypt. Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, is scheduled to arrive in Israel on Sunday, with the intention of bringing about a resolution to the situation. After the negotiations, a senior official from the United States told reporters that the talks, which had hitherto been on and off, are now in the endgame. According to the speaker, "There is a new spirit here that is driving this to a conclusion, Because of the delicate nature of the negotiations, the official, along with other individuals who were interviewed for this article, spoke under the condition of anonymity. The office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made reference to an earlier framework that had been accepted by the administration of Vice President Joe Biden and was in place in May. According to the statement made by the agency, Israel's fundamental principles are well known to the mediators and the United States, in the hopes that, to the effect that their pressure would result in Hamas agreeing to the principles that were discussed on May 27 in order for the specifics of the agreement to be put into effect. According to two diplomats who were acquainted with the meeting, Qatar's prime minister evaluated the progress that was being made after the first day of talks on Thursday. He also pleaded with Iran's authorities to delay an anticipated attack on Israel in order to prevent sabotaging a nascent agreement. The importance of the negotiations, which involved Israel, was brought to light by the phone conversation that Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani made to Iran. During the call, Mohammed encouraged Iran to de-escalate and stressed the need for calm, according to one of the officials who participated in the conversation. According to the second diplomat, the Prime Minister of Qatar issued a warning to Iran, advising them to bear in mind the severe repercussions that would result from launching an attack at the same moment that there are indications of diplomatic progress. It was also said by an Israeli official that there had been progress achieved on the first day of negotiations, which provided justification for Netanyahu's decision to keep his negotiators sleeping in Doha. Israeli officials may have changed their position on the proposed arrangement, which involves a ceasefire for a period of 6 weeks, the release of a large number of captives, and the evacuation of Israeli forces from major population areas in Gaza. The official and the two diplomats failed to explain where Israeli officials and diplomats may have changed their attitude. Previous to this, Israel had pressed on additional changes to a framework that had been outlined by Biden in May.